Good morning. It's Monday morning. We're reading from the Gospel of John, chapter 21, verses 20 to 23. Peter turned and saw the disciple whom Jesus loved following them, the one who also had leaned back against him during the supper and had said, "Lord, who is it that's going to betray you?" When Peter saw him, he said to Jesus, "Lord, what about this man?" Jesus said to him, "If it is my will that he remain until I come, what is that to you? You follow me." So the saying spread abroad among the brothers that this disciple was not to die. Yet Jesus did not say to him that he was not to die, but, "If it is my will that he remain until I come, what is that to you?" John and Peter have this rivalry all the time. You know, at the resurrection, the women say, "Hey, the Lord has risen," and they run to the tomb, and John gets here first, but Peter runs into the tomb first, And now it's, what about this guy? The one who asked you those questions when you were at the Last Supper. There's always this competition. Well, Peter says, what about him? Now, Peter's just been told about his own death. And Jesus says, don't worry about him. Worry about yourself. You follow me. If it's my will that he remains until I come, so what? Don't you worry about that. And John says, well, and so it spread abroad that he wasn't going to die. Though that's not what Jesus said. Jesus simply said, if he's still alive when I come back, so what? That's not your problem. In fact, John lived a very long time. He was quite old when he died. He died at Ephesus many years later. So if this is in the mid-30s or early 30s, he died somewhere around 80s or 90 maybe. So he lived to be very, very old. But nobody in the New Testament, even the documents that are written, 30, 40 years after the fact, they don't know when all the New Testament people, the apostles, die. For one thing, a lot of the apostles scatter. And, there are conflicting stories about where some of them died. There's one apostle, and I forget which one, but did he go up into what we call like Bulgaria and die? Or did he go south into Ethiopia and Africa somewhere and die? There are towns named similarly after this guy in both places. So where did he die? We don't know. Nobody in the New Testament knew either. And that's my point. They didn't know when or where these people would die. And so it's kind of foolish to place any sort of predictions in Jesus' mouth or for Jesus to even predict where they would die. So nobody knows. That's the point. We could spend a lot of time going over those stories, but for the most part, they're not terribly reliable. Tradition says, well, he died here and he died here and he died here. It's pretty clear that Peter died in Rome. It's pretty clear that John died in Ephesus. Beyond that, we don't have a lot of information about a lot of these guys. And that's, I suppose that's our poverty, our loss. But anyway, for you today, what does this mean? First of all, it means don't worry about your neighbor. Don't worry about what they're doing. Worry about yourself. And that's always a good policy. Some people spend a lot of time looking over there to see what they're doing and not looking at, their own business. So look at your own business, and also, maybe just don't be so worried about what Jesus might be saying to somebody else, and worry about what he's saying to you. That's the very important part. Tomorrow we're going to look at the last couple of verses of the Gospel of John, and I deliberately saved them for a separate little talk. So we'll talk about them tomorrow, and then we'll see where we go. So have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow.